Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. So today we are picking up basically where we left off last time. I don't know, I guess it was about last week. And I'm working on the Raiden armor from Gasaraki. I have the box here. For those of you who didn't catch the stream last time, definitely feel free to catch the VOD. We didn't do much, it was very short. It was kind of like a test stream. Today I have a lot more time, so this one's going to go on for a little bit, hopefully, and we'll get some stuff done. I'm hoping to get all the prep work done for we'll see. I'm hoping to get the bulk of the prep work done so I can really get into weathering in an upcoming video. So we have all our parts out here. My Japanese beverage for the night is CC lemon. So I'm going to crack that. And hello, Adam, in the chat. Thank you for joining. I also have, I'll just crinkle it, I won't show it, a mystery Japanese snack. Here, I'll show like just the edge of the bag. So I'll tease that, maybe I'll bust that out and try snacking on that a little bit later. I also could have sworn I have a couple Hobby Japans here. Just really quick, and then we'll get into the stream and I'll start telling everybody about all the stuff I'm going to do pre-weathering. But I have a couple Hobby Japans here, and I could have sworn I had one that had some really nice builds of this Gasaraki kit, but I could not find them before the stream, and I didn't want to be too late to the stream, so maybe I'll have to find them later. But anyway, so basically where we were at is I was doing some filing and sanding, quick cleanup before puttying. I have some additional files in here that I'm going to take out. This is the file bag. For those of you who watched the last stream, the file bag that I had trouble finding, but I really like these flat files. And basically, I believe this pile over here is ready for putty. I think this pile is good to go, and this pile is complicated, and we're going to need to revisit later and figure out how to approach it. So essentially, again, just to recap, apologies to those who saw the first stream, but I'm going for a lightly weathered build, kind of like what's in these manual shots. Nothing too crazy, like no crazy paint chipping, just some nice use of my favorite Mr. Weathering Color, or Mr. Weathering Oil, that I'll sometimes call it. But this stuff is amazing, and we're going to be using a lot of that in a few different colors, and maybe some, what are they called? I'm blanking. Not washes, but, filters. Maybe some filters as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and get back to sanding. I mean, I would encourage you guys to grab a snack, grab a kit, and we can build together and chat. Feel free to chime in and ask any questions. I am using Infinimodel sanding sponges. Not sponsored or anything like that, but I'm a huge fan of the hardback sanding sponges. I find them super effective and much easier to work with than sandpaper. So I'm just going in with some 400 grit and just sanding off the nub marks and trying to have it so that as many pieces as possible won't need putty. But I can tell you, like this one here, there's no getting around it. It's definitely going to need a good amount of putty. know I kind of keep doing these last minute streams. I do apologize for that, but I'm hoping that I'm going to have a new schedule shortly where I am hoping I can stream on Wednesday nights. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that would be really nice to be able to have like some regularity to these live streams so they're not so last minute all the time. Now moving on to the feet, I do believe I have to disassemble those a bit more, so I'm going to go ahead through all the parts that I don't need to disassemble, because the parts that I disassemble, I think some of them might need to be modified a bit. I'm just going to get some of these files out of the way. So I'm trying to do everything that's not going to require modification or anything too crazy. These pieces, I have no idea. I don't know if you guys can see. There's a nasty seam line that goes like right through the middle. And I just don't know how I'm going to fix that. I think that might be something that I just kind of deal with. I mean, I definitely could fix it. I wish I could zoom in on that more for you guys. I definitely could fix it, but I think it would just be too difficult. And I don't know, maybe. I think I can actually just fix it and rescribe it. I'm just going to put that in. Yeah, I guess the putty pile for both of those. I'll just give it a shot, see what happens. This piece, let's see. Can I take this apart? I think that for this piece, I think it's good to go. This one's got a couple small nub marks. Nothing too major. Gotta figure out the exact right angle here to hold this so you guys can still see on camera. But like I said in the last stream, when I'm just dealing with like getting the primer down, I'm just going in with 400 grit if it's directly on the plastic. I'm not, unless it starts to look really rough to the eye, I'm not going to go back in with higher grit sandpaper and drive myself crazy. This piece looks a little rough on some of these edges here. I might go in with a file there. And this one here, a nice little chunk came out of it, unfortunately. Looks like when I nipped it off the runner. So just smoothing that out. I'm trying to not get these details removed. I think that should be pretty good. Checking in on the chat here. Not much going on. Alrighty, so these pieces are also going to be a bit of a pain because they've got that classic detail right through the seam line, so those are definitely going to need some putty work. The figure, I don't know, I haven't worked on a figure like this before, so I have no idea really how to treat it. This piece should be more straightforward though. I think I can just file. Those nubs on the side. I'm basically going to have to re-sculpt it. This is a super, super tiny piece. So sometimes when I work, hey, welcome. Thank you. Enjoy the sanding ASMR. I don't even know if you guys can hear the sanding. There you go, right in the microphone. But no, in all seriousness, thank you for joining. What I was saying is for these pieces that sometimes have just really, really tiny details, I mean, oftentimes what I'll do is I'll just file them. I'll just file them right off and I'll just sculpt it into a basic square or rectangle. And then if I want to add some pieces, like some detail later, I'll just cut like little tiny pieces of plop plate and glue it on with some crazy glue or CA glue, because it's not worth going through the hassle of trying to protect those details. It's just like madness. So I'm just filing these down into flat little edges. And then if I want to add detail to that later, I will, just go ahead and add some custom work with plop plate. Just double checking my work here. But yeah, I think that should be good for painting. Here's a random polycap. I don't know what this came from, so that's not good, but I'll just kind of put that to the side and hope I don't lose it. We've got another piece here. This one has a good amount of detail through it. This one's definitely going to need a lot of putty. I can maybe go ahead and just lightly sand. Just like a first pass on those nubs before I go in and drop this in the putty pile. Welcome everybody to the chat. I see a few more people have joined us. To recap everybody, we are just finishing up the prep work before we can prime and paint this and then actually get started with the weathering. So, yeah, this is going to have to definitely go in the putty pile. For those of you joining late, my Japanese beverage of the evening is CC Lemon, a classic favorite. For any of you who have been to Japan, you know it's a classic that you have to try. So enjoying a little bit of CC Lemon as we get through this prep work. Last stream, I was saying earlier, last stream was, let me adjust the camera here. Last stream was a very short stream, but today I have a bit more time, so we can hang out for a while tonight. So I encourage you guys to like grab a snack, maybe grab a model kit or a video game or something if you want to just like hang out and chat. Feel free to tell me what you guys are working on in the chat. I'd love to know. Again, I'm using these hardback sanding sponges versus regular sandpaper. Pretty much just that and a flat file. Some people say these hardback sanding sponges can soften the edges, and they definitely can. But I really don't mind that look at all. In fact, I'm kind of fond of it when the edges get softened a little bit. I think it gives it a really interesting organic feel. Loki says, just joining in, what kit is this? It's the Raiden armor from Gasaraki, which was an anime from the late 90s, 1998. This is made by Bandai. It's pretty similar to, I'd say it's like similar to the 1/100 high grades that came out in the 90s. So it's like way better than a no grade kit. But obviously it's not up to modern kit standards, but it has a lot of nice detail and some nice gimmicks. And the construction is pretty, overall, like pretty conducive to painting. Alright, it goes in the putty pile. And then we're just on the last few pieces for the sanding pass, and then we're going to get into some wackier stuff with Milliput, Tamiya putty, CA glue, cutting parts, all of that stuff. Like, we're going to get into modifying this so that it can be more easily painted. So just a handful of parts left. Let's see, these are going to have to be taken apart. So these little tiny pieces, they will get, these are going to be freaking impossible. I'm going to put some alligator clips on this so it doesn't go flying. But these are basically just little, tiny little circular parts, so I'm just smoothing out, just going around the edge and just smoothing out the little tiny remnants of the nub mark. And that's pretty much it. That looks good. I'm going to take the one off the other leg. These are supposed to be like the tops of, I guess, like missile pods or something like that. This one's kind of stuck here. I do have my parts separator around here somewhere. I'm afraid it's going to go completely flying on me. Let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go get the part separator. I think it's in a box. Hey everybody joining. I can see a bunch more people are joining. I will get to the chat in just a sec. Alright, I got my parts separator right here. And this is going to help me take apart the last few remaining pieces. For the chat, Adam says, not working on a Gundam, but priming and painting a helmet from the Guyver anime. That sounds pretty cool, Adam. I definitely would love to see some pictures of that. I'm assuming it's maybe 3D printed. Johnny says, working on painting and building the inner frame of the Fat Cat God Gundam. Very cool. Dookie says, does anyone ever worry about inhaling the dust when sanding? I've been getting paranoid about that after years and years of the hobby. I definitely do. I definitely get paranoid about inhaling it. I also get paranoid about like is plastic dust getting in my drink? Stuff like that. So I definitely understand the paranoia. Christian says, hi guys, hello. Is this Weathering with You season 2? Just kidding, LOL. Yes, it is. Hello, Bird Soup. Welcome, everybody. For those of you joining late, I'm working on the Ride in Armor from 1998 by Bandai from the anime Gasaraki. And we're just doing a slow, chill prep session before we get to weathering. I am working on a big, not like super big, but a main channel video focused on weathering, and this is kind of the behind the scenes for everything that's going to go into that video. So I mentioned it a little bit on the last stream, but the video is going to be called The 4 Core Principles of Weathering, and I'm going to go into all my favorite weathering techniques and weathering products, which I have shared before on the channel, but not in as much detail as I'm going to do in this upcoming video. Welcome, Phantasmagoria. Jorge. Christian says, just finished building my high-resolution model wing Gundam. Oh, that's very cool. I have been interested in the high-resolution model. This one goes in the ready-to-paint pile. I've been interested in the high-resolution God Gundam for a while, but it's super expensive, you guys. Also, for those of you joining late, I have a secret snack which I'll crinkle off camera. And maybe I'll show the edge of the bag. But I won't tell you what it is. You'll have to hang out through the stream. I will say it's a Japanese snack, just like my CC Lemon, the Japanese beverage. I didn't have one for the last stream, so I made sure to have one for this stream. But yeah, everybody here, I'd love to hear like what games you're playing, what models you're working on, if you're building something along while you watch. I know this was kind of a last minute stream, but I was saying earlier that I think I have a new schedule locked down where I'm going to try to do a live stream every Wednesday evening around 7 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see how that goes, but if I can get consistent, I think that'll be really nice and have like a live stream a week. I think that'll be really, really nice, and it'll help keep the builds moving because I've been super busy and have not had a ton of time to work on them over the last couple months, unfortunately. This has some nasty little nub mark here. Let's see if I can get rid of that. Sorry, I keep taking it off camera. I have to get used to centering it. What's weird is, you know, I have an iPhone, so the camera lens is not centered under the iPhone, so I don't really hold the I have to hold the model kit off center, and it's just not very intuitive. This little spot here is rough, but I don't want to destroy this circle detail completely. I think that should be pretty good, pretty close to ready to paint. I think this guy is ready to paint. I don't really see any issues with that. Alright, now everything here needs to be taken apart. It's all hidden behind me on the stream. So let's start with the weapon here. Just pops off like so. I think the weapon's going to be pretty straightforward. I forget. I think this is all one piece. This is not one piece. This piece comes off as I just sent it flying, and then these side pieces come off as well. So it's these 4 basic pieces. And that's going to need putty big time. But I don't think it should be too bad. Yeah, all these are going to need putty big time. I need to make sure... Actually, I don't, because this piece doesn't actually... It doesn't rotate, I don't think. It just sits in there. These ones will be nice and easy, although they do need putty. So that goes in the putty pile. Now for the arms. This is where it's going to start to become a bit of a pain, because I think I'm going to have to modify these into C-clips. So somebody just subscribed. Thank you for the subscription. I'll catch up with the chat and then we'll get into modifying those. Snack ASMR. Oh yes, snack ASMR. No, they're not prawn crackers. Another irate user says, Poggers, there was just 5 of us here and now it's 25 plus. Yeah, it was a slow start to this stream. I was a bit surprised because usually people hop in like really quick. But that's my bad because I did not schedule this stream in advance. I scheduled it like 15 minutes before I went live. Birdzoop says, just finished today my Armored Core Mirage. Wait, AC Mirage? Wait, is that Armored Core? When I see Mirage, I typically think 5-star stories. So AC Mirage, is that Armored Core or is that a 5-star stories kit? And now working on Master Grade Delta Plus. Jorge says, I'm working on my long-awaited projects, my hobby space clutter. Nice. Another irate user, I'm into RC hobby, barely getting into body work, and got recommended to look into Gunpla. Very cool. Well, welcome. However you found the channel, welcome, and thanks for hanging out. Christian Nub, you can't get rid of me. Yeah. It's amazing all this comes off in a flat finish and combines 3D parts. Jorge says, is your workspace in the back for just aesthetics or does it have practical use? Either way, it looks dope. Yeah, that is my audio desk for, I just use that as like a regular work desk, but also for making music and stuff like that. From when I used to have a recording studio back in the day. Oh, from Assassin's Creed. Interesting. Oh, Assassin's Creed. So it's a video game. Okay. Gotcha. Anyway, let's get into this because I'm going to have to modify the heck out of this thing. Let's see. Did these things pop off? Well, first of all, we definitely know the hands come off, right? These hands are ugly as sin, but we're going to do our best. Just giving it a nice sand there. Getting rid of that nub on the side of the hand. I think these hands are probably going to be one of the rougher parts of the kit. Unfortunately, unlike Gunpla, you know, the hands on this are so unique to the models themselves. They look kind of like human, like humanoid hands. I mean, all of them are humanoid, but these ones look like kind of just like a glove, like an actual person's hand. So you can't really just go and get like a builder's part like you can with Gunpla stuff. So I kind of just need to make the best of it. and just kind of improve what's here and just say, hey, that's the model kit. We're going to make it look as good as we can. And them's kind of the breaks. There's some nubs here on the pinky. Just gonna get that a little bit smoother. And again, I'm sure a lot of this may need a second pass after the primer stage, but I think that is ready for paint. I'll go ahead and do the other hand just while we're at it. I like to work on both sides of a part at the same time. It really helps me remember like all the little nuances of a part. Hopping back and forth from like left leg, right leg, since they tend to be mirrors of each other. Just kind of getting through some of these seam lines here. Or that's really a mold line, not a seam line. My mistake. Mold line. Let me double check this other one as well. Are there more mold lines? I think I got... Nah, there's a little mold line there. So that's why it's really beneficial to hop back and forth between the same part. Because there are inevitably things you will miss, catch on another piece, and then you can kind of go back and refine it that way. Okay, so for this, does this little gun pop off? I don't remember. I don't think it does. These little wrist guards, those are super easy. That's just a simple case for filing. And I'm just going through and disassembling these arms and just filing down what I need to. And by the way, a tip for filing that took me a long time, even though people told me, I never paid attention to it, is to file in one direction. Don't file back and forth like that. You're going to get a lot better result than if you file back and forth. This one looks like it has mold lines all around the part, so I might, after I file this main nub, I might go in and hit it just with some sandpaper to just take down that mold line a bit. Not terrible, but it's definitely there. How's it look like on this other part? This one is not as bad. It's still there though. I might take 600 grit just to be a little bit gentler and just kind of get at it. I know this is a tiny part, but it's attention to detail, guys, that makes the end result look that much better. And patience is key with this stuff. So I'm hoping between this light sanding and primer, that should take care of it on both of these parts. And I will catch up with you guys in the chat in a sec. I see you guys are chatting away, which I think is great. That's kind of the point of the stream. We all kind of come together, hang out, chat, work on some stuff. we'll see about these parts. I kind of don't really trust them. I kind of don't really trust my sanding job. These might be more trouble than they're worth. I don't know. I'm just gonna have to go ahead and prime it. All right. Let's see, catching up with the chat here. I like mecha hands back in the 90s as they all are rounded and very human-like. Yeah, they are definitely. It's definitely a different flavor versus today. Harry says, which kit are you building? The Raiden armor from Gasaraki. This is a Bandai model kit, 135 scale from back in 1998. There's the box art here. Nice, cool little model kit. Kind of reminds me of a mix between like Gunpla and like Armored Core or something like that. You ordered a bunch of random stuff from Amazon for model building. What kind of stuff did you order? I'd be curious to know what kind of stuff you ordered. Working on painting a Master Grade Buster Gundam. Anyone else also paint and panel line the frame? That's a question from Loki. Just got the OG Gundam white and yellow and blue. Very cool. Nice, that looks cool. Thank you, Harry. So now we're going to continue to take these apart. Oh, okay, it does come out. Thank God. I'll have to deal with that later. How the hell am I going to get these little things out? Do those come out? Yes, they do. Right? It's the same things that are on the leg, but this one is like really set in there because of how the... Oh. I just snapped it and it went flying, which is fine. And it's not fine that it went flying, but it's fine that I snapped it because I was actually going to say I have to cut these off and glue them on later because of how the construction is. But it sucks that it went flying. Let me grab my flashlight. We're going hunting for parts. Let's see. Do you guys relate? Can you guys relate to dropping apart of course it's the tiniest part in the whole freaking kit, right? It wouldn't be any other way. It's gotta be the tiniest part in the whole kit. Jeez, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find that. It was so small. That's the kind of thing, it might turn up in a couple days. That's no good. Well, I think I'm gonna have to press on with the stream and just pray that it shows up later. Sometimes those things show up later, sometimes they disappear forever. if it disappears forever, I don't know what I would do to replace it. Maybe I could probably just make some little like circles with plot plate, but that would kind of suck. Alright, so I'm going to try to pry this one off, but make sure... Alright, this one came off clean. And then the rest of this is just one part that needs a lot of putty and sanding. This also needs a lot of putty and sanding. What are glass files used for? They are used for getting like a super smooth finish. Yeah, Gunpla black hole, give up now. I have lost all of my parts that way. LOL, part went to Gunpla heaven. Yeah, it might have gone to Gunpla heaven. I don't know. I have a pretty clean space, so I feel like I'll be able to dig around there later and find it. Another irate user says, a few things were from one of my friends' list he made. Cutting mat, a pack of hobby knives, but they look like razors, some pretty thin files, and sandpaper plus more. Cool. It teleported to some random edge of your home. Yeah, definitely. I'm bummed about that, but it happens to the best of us. This piece is pretty ugly, but I think I can get away with just filing. I think I can get away with just filing this little nub here. By the way, this is like, it's semi-related ergonomic tip. These little like squishy pads are great for your desk. I put one like under my elbow as I lean on the table, and it really helps with the comfort and ergonomics, especially as you're like sanding for hours and hours and hours. And you can get them pretty cheap online. I just picked up like a random pair of them. I actually bought these in Japan, on Amazon Japan, when I was living there, and I brought them back. This part actually cleaned up super nice. Guys, I'm so sorry I keep moving it out of the camera frame. I'm just not used to sanding on camera. This little piece is going to be a royal pain in the ass to sand. So what I'm thinking is pop it in the alligator clips and just go over the top. That's not too bad. I think that one's good to go. You know, I wonder, I have another model kit, but I don't know if the parts are the same. I have this guy from the same series, which I don't think I'm going to paint, but I wonder if I could harvest those parts that went missing. Yes, I could. I could. It has the same part. Okay. That's good. And that reminds me, you know, there might actually be just extra parts that came on the runners or something like that. I'm not sure. But worst case scenario, I can harvest the missing part from here. But I should be able to find it. For those of you joining late, a part went flying. A part went flying and vanished. And it's like the smallest part. Like, look at the size of this part that went flying. for size comparison, like here's a marker. So this thing is like super tiny. We're talking real grade style parts. Red Mono Eye says nail dust collectors are great when sanding. Yeah, I used to use one in the past, but I don't know why I just fell off using it. A nail dust collector, it's like a little tiny, like, desktop vacuum, basically. That's like about this big, like a little hockey puck, and you kind of just move it around your desk. Alright, so moving on to these. So basically, the way that this part is assembled, this is like the juicy stuff for the video. So it's classic two pieces that go together, and you're going to need a ton of putty to clean up all this stuff along the top. Can I zoom in? Let's see. Does zoom in work? No, I don't think zoom in works when I'm streaming my phone to my computer. Anyway, so to clean up this seam line, you're going to have to use a ton of putty. But then it's going to make painting all of this, especially because I want to do pre-shading, insanely difficult. So there are these two little areas in here, and what I'm going to do is turn those into C-clips so the part can just pop in from below, and it won't be as sturdy of a connection. And if you look at it from the bottom, it could look messy depending on how you do it. But I'm hoping I can do a clean enough job. I'm gonna get my God hand nippers here. And give it a go. So basically what you're gonna do is just start by just cutting. First I want to look at the size of the peg here. So I start by cutting just a small area out the bottom. Not really a small area, but it's smaller than I think I will need. And I'm just going to go and just kind of like clip and clip and clip. Of course I'm showing it off camera again. Clip like a bunch of little lines, and then you can just kind of twist and they should come off. And what I'm trying to do is get the bulk of the material out, and then usually to clean these up I'll go back in with a file. Like this one's too big. Whoops, sorry, I whacked the camera. But a small file like this, and I'll just try and like clean it up a little bit. This one's not even good. I think I have like a nice triangular file here. This one is probably better. And so what I'll do is I'll mirror that on the other side, and then I'll just do some test fits, seeing if I can push the piece in to pop it in place. Now the issue is if you go ahead and make the hole too big, it's very hard to go back to get it tight again. So you want to go on you want to play it safe and go with the smallest opening you can and see if you can get it in there, and then slowly make it larger, because once it gets too loose you're kind of screwed. So I'm just gonna go and look at what I did, just kind of compare them and just try to replicate the same thing on the other side. Just taking some little snips, and then a bunch of little vertical slices with my nippers. And then once the plastic is weakened, just go ahead and just twist it all out, and it should come right out. This one is not looking quite as clean as the first one, but that's okay. It's going to mostly be hidden inside of the kit. And like I said, I can also clean it up and clean it up a nice amount with the file. And that'll get it like nice and flat, so if anybody does peek under it, it doesn't look like all chewed up. It looks kind of more like a smooth cut. Okay, so I'm just gonna, I can pretty much guarantee this is too small, but I just want to test and kind of see. Yeah, it's not going to quite fit in, so it just needs a little bit more material removed. And then I think we should be good to go. But for those of you who haven't done that modification, it's a very simple modification, really handy on old 90s kits because a lot of them have that style of joint. And it will definitely take you far in terms of painting up like vintage kits and stuff. Kawaguchi-san says you got this. Awesome. Thank you, Christian. Dookie says, I'm buying a nail this thing off Amazon right now, hoping it'll also help suck up a paint mist when airbrushing. A nail dust collector will definitely not suck up paint mist at all. It's not going to help you with that at all. You need a spray booth for that. Sergio says, glad to see you do these process videos. Maybe it will influence others to make similar content. Thank you, Sergio. Christian says, do you guys often paint the inner frame per part? And by part, I mean the whole arm or whole leg all at once. Yeah, Christian, I paint the inner frame in big chunks because it's mostly going to be hidden. Yeah, I'll try to, in general, like you guys can even see, like, I mean, this is not a good example, but maybe for these arms, no, that's just two parts too. Generally, I'll try to get like the biggest component I think I can to get away with painting in the way that I want to paint it, and then I'll paint that. So like as large as possible, whatever ends up being as few pieces as possible. Because just completely disassembling everything is just like tedium for the sake of tedium. So with the inner frame, like if nobody's seeing it, it doesn't really matter if like a few little parts get missed. I also tend to not really do shading on the inner frame unless it's going to be exposed. So yeah, I'll paint like a lot of the inner frame together to save time. Alright, so I'm going in and just adding like one little nip on each side to just make that C-clip a little bit bigger. And remember, it needs to be a C and not a U, because if this shape here is a flat U, you think about it, right? Like it's not going to have any holding power or pressure to keep the joint in place. It's just going to flop in and out. So you need to keep that C shape. You need to be really careful to have it not become a U, because at that point you will be out of luck. I think this should be good. Yeah, that goes in. But as you can see, it requires like some serious bending of the part to get it in. So what I'm actually going to do is also, I'm going to live dangerously, and I'm actually going to sand these joint nubs down a little bit to help make it easier to slide in. Now this is a dangerous scheme because if I do it too much, then the arms are going to be really loose when they're in there. But what I'm trying to do is just kind of like round it so that when I slide it in, it just kind of slides in a little bit easier. Now, really, if you do things right, you can paint everything, assemble it, and you only have to slide it in once. And then once it's in there, then it's in there forever. But what happens is very frequently, not very frequently, but it just happens. Sometimes you get a part in there, you're painting, something gets scratched, you have to go do a touch-up, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And you have to take the part out. So in a perfect world, you'd be able to take it, put it in, and take it out. But if you have to just like live on the edge and only be able to pop it in, you can probably, you know, live with that. I think for this one, oh no, that comes out pretty easy. Now is it? It's still got a good bit of I don't know what word I'm searching for. Tension. Tension is the word I'm searching for. It's still got a good bit of tension, so I think we're in a good spot. I think C-clip successful. I don't know why I'm like, I always feel like I want to show it on this screen, but this screen is actually way bigger. So yeah, so you can pop it out, and then you just kind of go like, put it that way, and just clip it in like that. So it's weird to me that Bandai wouldn't just like engineer the kits this way. Doesn't make sense to me. Maybe it's not durable enough for like kids or whatever, but obviously it's much friendlier for painters to have the C-clip. While we're here, I'm just gonna file a little bit of this nub. This is gonna need a good deal of putty across the seam line anyway, but I'll just give it a once over, take care of some of that nub, because these are pretty nasty. And I know I said don't go back and forth, and here and there I'm going back and forth. It really depends on what you're trying to achieve. If I'm just trying to skim a little bit of a nub off, I can go back and forth and do a real quick one. But if you're trying to keep the form, like a crisp form, you definitely just want to go in one direction. Cool, so that needs putty, and now we need to disassemble this one and make the second C-clip, going along with the same method that we used for the first one. Catching up with the chat here. Let's see. It's not good for paint, but you can prop it up against the window to blow out. Wait, what are people talking about? The chemical smell from airbrushing? Yeah, I don't know. I would just get like a portable spray booth for airbrushing. I would not try to like use something else. Got to go, but I'll probably browse the channel. See you later. Thank you. Another irate user. Thank you for coming and hang out. Ragey Gamer says hello. Hello, Ragey. Gasaraki reviews when Bandai. Tension. What's the drink? The drink today is CC Lemon. in my tradition of enjoying a Japanese beverage on stream, I have CC lemon, and I also have a mystery snack, which I was hiding. But it might be time to bust out the mystery snack, which is Calbee potato chips from Japan. These are nori shio, so nori and salt. So I guess I'll give it a try. They taste just like Lay's, but they're like super thin. The chips are like super thin. They're like thinner than a regular potato chip. They are really salty. The nori flavor is like very subtle, so it's not like overly seaweedy. They're pretty good. They're kind of just like regular potato chips with like 5% nori flavor. Reiji, we're stuck in an ad, sorry. They are nori shio potato chips from Calbee from Japan. And they kind of just taste like Lay's potato chips, but they're a little bit thinner, and I don't know, they have like an interesting different taste to them where it's like clearly not just like regular American potato chips. Yeah, super thin means it's really healthy. Definitely super healthy potato chips. Shadow says, love your setup. We'll definitely be checking back in. Take care. Thank you. So again, we're making a second C clip here after the first one was thankfully very successful. Same method, just going in with a few vertical slices with just your plain old hobby nippers. And then you just go and you twist out. You just twist out those parts. And they should come out pretty easily. There are other ways to do this, I'm sure. This is just the way I do it, and it gives me a pretty solid result, and it's very easy and quick to do. Easier and quicker than like trying to get in there with a hobby knife or something like that. So I just file it to smooth it, make it a little bit less ugly, because the nippers do have a tendency to leave it looking a little chewed up, although most of this will be hidden. You know, in the instance, some of it might be a little visible. You know, you like to have it look as clean as possible. If this was going to be for a competition or something, I would really take a lot of effort to make sure that the C-clip job, just in case anybody, you know, looked at it from the bottom, that it definitely did not look too chewed up. But I don't plan on putting this in any competitions. This is just going to be for an upcoming video all about weathering and all of the different techniques that I use when weathering my Gunpla, but also this crucial step here, which is prep. Because preparing your kit in the right way goes a long way to making the end weathering job look that much better. Which is not like, I know that's nothing that you guys probably haven't heard before, but it's worth repeating because it is very, very true. It is very, very true. Uh-oh. We're entering dangerous territory. I made slightly too big of a cut. I think we should still be safe. The nice thing about the C-clips is, you know how I mentioned they have to stay C-shape? You can't go to a U-shape. If you go to a U-shape, you're out of luck. But because you have the two sides, even if one side holds the part in place, like if you cut one side too big and the other side still holds the tension, you're still in a good place. The part won't fall out. If they're both too big, however, then you're just screwed. I think this should pop in. Nice. And will it pop out? I had seaweed stuff all over my hands. I didn't even realize from the potato chips. Will it come out? No, I don't think. Oh, it kind of comes out, but that would totally crack the part. So I think I'm just going to trim this a hair more. And this is one of a couple of mods, you guys, that I'm going to have to do on this kit to make it paint ready. For those of you joining late, I have a few piles here. This pile here is like ready to paint. This pile here needs some, I don't know, some creativity to figure out how I'm going to mod the kit to make that paintable. This stuff needs putty, and this stuff we're still figuring out. So we're going to have to do a couple mods on this kit to make sure it is paintable. But that is good. This C-clip is looking good. So that needs glue as well as putty. I think not just putty is going to cut it. But everybody in the chat, definitely let me know what you guys are working on. If there's anything you want to buy, if there's anything you guys put on your Christmas list, either that you hope someone will get you or that maybe you're going to get yourself in terms of hobby stuff or video games or anything like that. These little pieces pop out. And I don't think that really needs any kind of work. Maybe just a little bit of sanding on the side there. But not really. I think that's good to go. Same on this leg. These just slide right out. Ready to paint. That's what I like. I like it when they are easy to paint. This little guy I will put on a alligator clip and just sand that nub on the side. Nice and easy. Then the other side. Boom. Super easy. These are nice. I love that these are separate parts. Oh no. I got it. Almost lost another tiny part, but caught it. Caught it just in the nick of time. Anyway, I was just saying I love that even for how old this kit is, that this is a separate part. Let's see. Reggie says, I want to buy everything, but I don't have the money. When you say everything, is there anything specific you want to buy? I would love that new Perfect Grade Unleashed new Gundam. But I'm like, would I like it? Because, like, money aside, like, how long is it going to take to friggin' put that thing together? It seems like it would take a year just to, like, snap build it. And I don't know if I want to take that much time snap building something when I could be painting something. Because I think painting, for me, is a lot more fun. These toes might be tricky. This might also require modification. So the base of these feet pop right off. This is straightforward. This can use some filing. This should just use some light filing, and then this should be ready to paint. Dookie says, same, and besides money, I also have no space. Yeah, I mean, they take up a lot of space. I like big kits, but the idea of like how long it's going to take, that's the main detractor for me. But I definitely hear you. Because it's a big perfect grade, and it comes with a lot of accessories, and I'm sure the box will be gigantic and all that good stuff. That's ready to paint. Gonna file down this nub. I thought I did this before for the arm. That goes in the putty pile, and then here I'm just gonna pop off my part separator. And again, I love that this is a separate part. It is so cool that they made it a separate part, and honestly in the manual I don't even think it's a separate color. They have it the same color here. I've been playing with maybe making it like a metallic color or doing something different. I'm not entirely sure yet, but either way I love that this is a separate part, like with great detail under it, and because it's a separate part you don't have that terrible seam line that always goes through the middle. Let's see, I think that's probably good enough to paint. Reggie says, I would love the PGU new Gundam, but I would like the PG Exia with a lightning unit. Yeah, that's a cool one too. Christian says, would you consider that third-party new Gundam that was copied from a garage kit made by Fortune Meow? I've never heard of that. I'm not really big into bootlegs, but I've never heard of that one. Reggie says, I really want the Gundam Factory Yokohama exclusive kits. I have a few of them. I think the Gundam Factory Mega Size is one that I definitely think is pretty cool. Loki says, if there was a PG Sazabi, if there was a PG the O. That's what I want. I want the perfect grade the O. But yeah, perfect grade Sazabi would also be really freaking cool. So now for these parts, I have no clue how I'm going to do the toes. I don't remember how the assembly goes, but I'm a little scared that I don't have a solution for how this can be modified. Or does this just pop off? let's consult the manual so I don't break it. How do the feet go together? Oh, it goes down from below. Oh, there you go. It just pops right off. Okay, thank freaking God, because that would have sucked. So for this, I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. I think I might just let it be imperfect with this little like tiny little gap that runs along the sides, because ultimately it's the bottom of the feet and nobody's ever going to see them, and I'm not writing an article for a magazine about how dope I made the bottom of the feet. They're just going to stand on the diorama base that I eventually made, and nobody's ever going to see them for all of time. So I think I'm just going to bite the bullet. I'm just going to push that in and just leave it and just say that is what it is, and then just sand off the nubs like I would any other part. But I'm mostly happy that, where's my flat file? I'm mostly happy that the little toe piece just popped right out. I forgot about that construction, and I'm very grateful, because that would have been very confusing to modify. I don't think I could have done like a simple C-clip solution for that. Just sanding down these nubs here. And again, guys, I think I said last time, like, I don't even worry about doing the twice cut method or anything like that with my nippers. I just cut the dang thing, snap it together, and I worry about the nubs when I get to the filing and sanding process. So, where is the other? I think oh, here it is. I was like, where's the other foot? Right there. Christian says, kind of remembered that there are garage kit parts for the master grade, the O. Yeah, there are a lot of garage kit parts from B Club from back in the day. I would love to pick them up. I actually look on eBay every now and again, but I haven't seen any for a good price. So I thought this pops out from below, and I'm having trouble. There we go. We're almost done. It's just these 4 parts, and then we're going to get to this crazy, insane thing, which I have no idea how I'm going to solve, but should be exciting to talk about on stream. This is just another simple file. Master grade MGSD Zaku, people are asking for MGSD Goof, MGSD any Xeon suit. I would be surprised if we get MGSD antagonists, maybe rivals, but I'd still be surprised. What would I like? Okay, so first of all, I'm not trying to downplay anybody who enjoys the MGSD, but I am not a fan of how elongated the proportions became. They don't look like SD kits to me anymore. They look more like, I don't know, like if SD was like full chibi or like little kid versions of the Gunpla, I feel like the MGSD is like a teenager. It's like not quite SD and it's not quite regular standard proportions. It's somewhere in the middle. Or it just kind of feels like a slightly chunkier regular build, but with like a big head. So I'm not the biggest fan of the proportions of the MGSDs, but that aside, I'd probably buy a God Gundam if they made one. Or the O. They would never make the O. But yeah, I'd probably buy one. But, yeah, I'm just not a big fan of the proportions of that series. I can show you guys. I've talked about this before. This is what I wish MGSD looked like. Hold on. 1 second. I'm just grabbing a Hobby Japan. Here it is. This is what I wished MGSD looked like. Or this is more like a PGSD. This is what I wish we got with like an MGSD or like a PGSD. Just like that classic SD look, but crazy amounts of detail. And this has like a bunch of like open hatch gimmicks and stuff like that too. Here you can see. So there's a regular SD over here. And there's the giant one this is completely scratch built. It's insane. But yeah, this is what I wish we got. Look at that thing. It's so freaking cool. So cool. Which issue is it? This is the from 2000. It's July of 2000. Sorry. Yeah, July. Yeah, July of 2000. It's the SD Gundam issue. How to build SD Gundam. It's a really cool issue. They talk about a lot of other like SD stuff in this issue, as well as like regular builds. Oh, that one's pretty sweet. The Mark IV. Anyway, I could get distracted with Hobby Japan. You guys know I'll get hella distracted with Hobby Japan. Jesse says they are like the cross silhouette SD with a taller frame. Yeah, exactly. Momo, welcome to the chat. For those of you joining late, I'm enjoying Calbee Nori Shio potato chips. As well as Suntory CC Lemon. It's great to enjoy a snack without washing your hands after doing a lot of sanding. So you get a nice little garnish of microplastics in your potato chips. Is very delicious. Alright, so now for this, I think this just needs, at this point, I think just closing those gaps with some putty. Christian says Calbee is the GOAT. I love Calbee, but my favorite potato chip from Japan is actually Chipstar. But Calbee stuff is very good. Reggie says, does anyone plan to go to the Chicago Gundam base when it opens? I don't know. I might go. I'm definitely not going to go when it opens, but I might go eventually. Chicago is a great city. And I have not been to Chicago in a long time. This is going to need a lot of putty. Okay. Squeeze that together. Same deal. Okay. And now these legs, okay. Okay, great. See, this is what I mean, guys. The engineering on this kit, they're like We want you to be able to paint this. Just pops off. You don't got to worry about it. This is going to be, aside from the seam lines, like the overall process of putting it back together and all that, it's just going to be very nice and easy, I think. Which is one of the reasons I chose to do this kit. That's not to say it doesn't have its fair share of challenges. It definitely does. It's not perfect. But I think overall, it's going to be pretty conducive to painting. Like these little pieces, that's just like a separate piece, which is freaking awesome as well. Pops right off. Separate piece. Very nice. Get those nubs off. Nice and easy. A little bit light sanding and we're good to go. Beautiful. And one on the other leg. You also got to garnish the Gunpla with nori dust. Yeah, definitely. Microplastic flavor. Mad Dog says, hey, how you doing tonight? I am doing good. Thank you for joining. We're just enjoying some Japanese beverages, some Japanese snacks. Chatting about Gunpla as I prepare to weather this kit again. For those of you joining the stream late, the Ride in Armor by Gasaraki, or not by from Gasaraki by Bandai. And you know it's good when the Bandai logo is red. That's how you know your model kit is top tier, in my opinion. If the Bandai logo is red, you're good to go. What do you guys think? Red Bandai logo or the blue Bandai Spirits logo? I mean, obviously, I've already played my card. I'm 100% in the red Bandai logo camp. But just post a red or blue in the chat. Let me know if you're red logo or blue logo. I'd love to hear you guys' opinions. And that piece is ready to paint. Bird Soup says the Chicago Gundam base is a 5-hour drive from you. It's not. It's it. There could be worse drives, but it's not a short drive. Christian says, wait, really, Chipstar? I kind of hate those. I love Chipstar. They're like the Japanese Pringles. Christian. Reggie says, I started Lego as a kindergartner, so I've been ingesting microplastics since the beginning. LOL. Dookie says, wait, you mean eating Legos whole? Those are macroplastics. Very funny. I love it. Jesse says, hey Ellie, searching for a specific vintage issue of Hobby Japan. Other than eBay, do you have any recommendations of where I can find it stateside? Yeah, well, stateside, it would definitely just be like eBay or maybe Mercari or Facebook Marketplace. But if you're not going to find it on those sites, then you're not really going to get it stateside. You're going to have to import it. And for that, it would be like Bai or Suragaya would be your best bet. And I would recommend just buying what you can find on Suragaya and getting the sale. But if you have a specific issue you want, then Bai and Mercari Japan, you're definitely going to be able to get like the exact issue you want because they just have way more selection. Christian says red logo for the real OGs. I agree. Red logo. Red logo all the way. Red Bandai logo. Reiji says red is my favorite color. Nice. Red is a good color. Alright, for this part, this has got some gnarly seam line going through it. Only spot it's really bad is on this like little V shape here. Right here. that's going to be a bit of a pain. You guys, it's not really picking up on the camera, but I promise you in real life, it is there. And it will be a pain. Let's see if I can get my file in there. Because the issue is this side wall kind of like blocks my file from getting in there. Whoops. Stuff is going flying. So I have to be super careful to not eat away at the rest of the model while I sand off this stupid nub. I think I might have got it though. I think I might have mostly got it. It's not too bad. I think I can just get in there with a little bit of... Yeah, it's not too bad. That's not too bad at all, actually. I'm pretty happy with that. So the rest of this is just going to be like a squeeze together, some basic putty. And I got to try to get this nub off this side as well. So just going back in again with this file super carefully to not get the side wall. And then going from the other side. Again, this is that classic example of filing where you want to go and do one direction filing. And then once I've got the bulk of it off, I'm just going to go back in and just kind of smooth it out. This one I did not do as good of a job. I went a little too deep, but I should be able to fix it with a little bit of putty to just fill in that little gash I made. I don't even know if I made that gash. I might have made that gash. But I should be able to smooth that out with a little bit of putty. So that's not too bad. Okay, so we're done. So all this stuff needs putty. All this stuff is ready to paint. Everything that's ready to paint, I'm going to push to the side. This is ready to paint as well. And this stuff, I don't know how I'm going to fix it. I also don't know how I'm going to get the guy inside of the mech. Because as we discussed on the last episode, it's like fully super assembled. I think what I'm going to do is have to paint the inside of this, like maybe even like right now, with like a Musso black or something. And then glue it together. I don't know, this is going to be really complicated. Because I've got these parts that go underneath it. This is going to be tough. I need to refer to the manual. Catching up with the chats. Question with Suragaya. When they have free shipping and you get with DHL, does DHL charge you extra money before they deliver your package? Yes. So originally with the tariffs, DHL was not charging you extra. But lately, sorry, I'm just looking for that piece I dropped earlier. Lately, DHL will absolutely ping you with like a random amount, like not random amount. For me, it's like about $25 to $30, like $30 per $100 you spend. But I'm in the US, so it might change if you're in Canada or something like that. I don't know about like Canada's duty fees and stuff like that. Okay, so getting to the manual here. So these two pieces go together. Oh, that's where this poly cap is from. So this poly cap goes there. That's easy enough. I don't mind painting the poly cap. I'm not afraid to paint poly caps. You guys know that. Is my mic low? It might have just been that I was like I was away. Simply Zaku. I might also be talking a little bit low, but the gain level looks pretty good now. What was I saying? Oh, merge them and have a purple logo. Bandai Shokugan uses the red logo now. That's cool. I didn't know that. Believe in the heart of the cards will help you putting the pilot back in. Yeah. Heart of the cards. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so this goes here. This piece goes here. I don't think I can do C-clips for these. I don't think that is gonna work. And then the pilot is like the crazy part. Where's like the pilot seat? Oh, here's the pilot seat. Pilot sits on this like this. And that goes in there like that. And then this piece goes down here like that. And then this goes together. So I just don't think there's any way around it. I just don't think there's any way. I think because this is an inset. I guess you could do a C-clip there. You could do a C-clip there. You could do a C-clip up top, but then you run the risk. Well, okay, so even if I do the C-clips, it doesn't matter because there's no way to get the pilot inside. Like, there's no way to do the pilot. So I think what I'm just gonna have to do is so annoying though. I hate having to paint certain parts way earlier than the other parts because of how I do the shading and blending colors. It's gonna be a huge pain. It's gonna be a huge pain. See you later, Christian. Thank you for hanging out. Bird Soup says, yeah, I got hit with the tariff. $30 for $100. Yeah, that's about exactly what I paid. Is there a way to grab the pilot by the feet and rotate it up toward its head to just pull it out of the back hatch? I don't think so because it sits on top of this. Maybe, you might be right. Let's see. No, I don't think so. Like, there might be a way to get it out, but I feel like you're gonna risk, especially because I'm gonna be painting this with acrylic, I feel like you're gonna risk scratching up the interior. But what I could actually do is I wonder if I cut this out, we're gonna start getting crazy with it. This is probably honestly my favorite part of model building. If I cut out this support, I wish I could zoom in more. I'll try to zoom in more next time. I'm sorry guys, it's kind of small, but there's this support here and I'm just gonna cut it out because I don't think I need it anyway because I'm gonna be using glue. So if I cut this out, and then file that down, so now when I put it together, where the pilot's head was kind of getting blocked, let's see if I can get the pilot in. Now you can get the pilot in. So who said that? That was, shout out to who said that. I totally forgot. It was Jesse King. Shout out to Jesse King for that line of thinking. Here, let's see if I tighten it fully. Does it still work? I think now, I think I might need to do like a little extra filing to just open that area, but I think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna work. I'm very happy about this. So I think what I can try to do is figure out ways to do crazy tiny little micro C-clips everywhere. Pray that they work. And then file and sand open that part of the hatch to make it so that the guy can get in and out. And again, I will try to do it on camera because I have a really bad habit of pulling the model kit off camera. Let's see, I cut that. I can just sand that down a bit. And what I'm just trying to do is open up the area that's going to be around the pilot's head, which is the main stopping point of sliding the pilot in and out. So that kind of opens it up a little bit more. But this part needs to be cut out even more. Honestly, it's actually, if I do it right, it's gonna actually look even better than having those exposed, like clearly, like model kit parts. So I can even like putty those and fill those holes. And I think it's actually gonna look even better, just strictly from a visual perspective, when you open the hatch, than it would look stock. So I don't know if you guys can see that now. It's like more symmetrical inside on the left and right, where before you were clearly seeing like a hole for the peg to go in. So this is working out very nicely, and I should be able to easily just pop them in. So I am very, very happy about this modification. So all we have to do pretty much, well, let's see if it's fully tightened. Let me just make sure when it's fully tightened that I can still get the guy out. Actually, I don't need to really be able to get him out. I just need to be able to get him in. So let's see, because I was getting him in when it was not fully tightened up. This is like the puzzle part of model kits, which is my favorite part. Alright, so now it's all fully tightened. That kind of is going to simulate what it would be like when everything is fully puttied. And yeah, no, he's going to pop in really good. So that is awesome. I am super, super happy about that. I am very, very hyped. So now let's get this popped back open and let's get working on those C-clips. So again, for those of you thinking about working on vintage model kits and all the stuff you're going to have to do to paint it and blah, 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 like, yes, it requires like a little bit of thought, but you guys can see here on stream how quickly we solve that. Like, it's not that hard. It just requires a little bit of, like, you know, problem solving. Okay, so starting with the easier ones, I think that'll be these ones down here on the bottom. That's for this piece. So I should be able to just do like little C-clip left and right. Right there, we'll try that. Catching up with the chat. People are just saying like, woo. Woo. I feel woo. Very hyped. I might not seem hyped, but I am in fact hyped that we gotta solve for this. So this goes in and closes that way, so I want to make a clip here. And again, I'm off camera. I am so sorry, guys. Let's keep it on camera. I don't know. This is going to definitely be one of the trickier parts. Let's see if I can just now file that out. I'm actually going to take these little pieces out so they don't break. I have an idea. I think what I can maybe try to do is use actually the side of this file and carve out part of that C shape and just make like a little notch on each side. Just try to make it as clean as possible. And then sand that. Now again, this is going to sit on top like that, so you won't really see it unless you open it, and then if you open it you will see it. So maybe I just don't want it to be ugly when it's opened. I'm trying to think here what I could do. And it's so flush here. Normally what I'd say is, oh, maybe I could put like a paper thin piece of plot plate. But it's so flush. I'm not really sure about that. I mean, the other thing I could do is just not open it, like even when it's pilot in there. Maybe not open like that part, because the inside of that's kind of ugly too. Yeah, I might just do the little notch and then trim the pegs so they're smaller. Whoops. Man, I'm throwing stuff all over the place. Let's see here. This is really a tough one. Sorry guys, I have stopped chatting because this is very difficult and I'm deep in thought. I think that could be okay. I mean, one thing I could do is file down like a little gap in there and then still put the piece of plot plate on top, like a really paper thin piece of plot plate to close that after it's all said and done. But I'm gonna try this, see how it goes. Get a little piece of sandpaper in there, sanding sponge, smooth it out, and then I'm just gonna do the other thing on the other side really quick. Same thing on the other side, rather. Just going in with the nipper, cutting out a little piece of plastic, and then going in. What I'm actually using is my triangle. I don't know what this is actually called, but it's like a triangular shaped file. And seeing if I can get a little angle there. And if all has gone well, I should be able to just pop this in by trimming these pegs down. And I'll sand them so they're a little rounded as well. And having them be rounded again is just going to make it easier to slide that part in and out, especially without like scratching anything up. But it's not even about scratching it up. It's more about just like being able to even get it in there at all. So this should, oops, this should pop right in. Beautiful. Pops right in. Again, it's a little bit ugly, but what I can do is try to get some little detail parts. I think I actually have a tiny bit of clearance there, so I might... Oh! Another piece went flying. Ugh. Wow, I'm an idiot. Oh my god, I didn't even realize, and I can't even hold this. So this is actually 2 pieces. That's unfortunate. So this is 2 pieces. And this part could have just gone in there. And then the other part could have just sat on top of it. I didn't have to do C-clip for it at all. I thought it was all one piece. Oh well. Now I have a new problem of how to clean it up. And it's also really hard to handle. So I could have just left it in there like that. It's still technically, it's better to have the C-clip. Those needle files are lifesaver. Yeah, the needle file is very, very helpful. Gotta do a little stretch. Whoops. But dang. Dang, is that unfortunate. Yeah, so this could have just popped on like that. And now it's loose too. The loose is not as big of a deal because I can just get some blue tack. But I'm kind of bummed. I'm gonna take this little piece out too so it doesn't break. Tiny little pieces. So I am gonna go ahead and put a little tiny piece of blue tack in the hole just to tighten it up and see how that feels. My trusty blue tack. This stuff is the best. I'm just gonna take a tiny little bit and pop it in the hole and get a toothpick. I'm making a mess. Just get a toothpick and just push it in. Whoops. Just push it in there with a toothpick. And nobody's ever going to see it. And it's going to make the parts fit a lot tighter and have some nice grip. It's like solved one problem, got another problem, and then you realize the other problem wasn't even a problem to begin with. But now it's nice and tight. You guys see how it was like loose before? And now it's nice and tight. So that'll stay up no problem, especially with paint on it. I'm going to try to cut like a tiny little piece of plow plate as a detail part and just see if I can fit it in there. I have some plow plate here. I have a bag of various thicknesses. I want that like super thin, the thinnest stuff that I have. This stuff might all be too thick. I'm gonna go in my supply area. Alright, I am officially making a big mess, but I think this is that super thin stuff. You can see it's like transparent. It's so thin. And I'm hoping that I can cut this into a tiny little detail part that I'll be able to just like CA glue on top. And hide the fact that I gashed out C-clips that I didn't need. So getting my hobby knife here. This is, yeah, hobby knife. And this is just going to be a scrap part, so it's not going to be precise or anything. Let's get some tweezers. So we've got this tiny little part here. And I'm just going to see if I could kind of put it in there like that, and if this would close. And I might not be able to mock it up without using glue. I don't even know where the heck the part went. It just vanished. Whoops. Oh, sorry guys. I'm so sorry I hit the microphone. That's not enjoyable to hear for anybody. Let me try cutting one more little piece. To see if I can just mock up what this would look like and if it's thin enough that it would let it close. I don't think it's thin enough, no. Because you got that gap there. Now I could file down the gap, but then that's creating more risk, so I'm just not sure what I'm going to do. I am just not sure. I know what I can do. I know what I can do. What I'm just going to do is going to be hilarious, but I'm actually just going to restore the areas that I carved away with putty. So I'm just going to re-putty back in those holes and sculpt them back, probably with like a tiny bit of milliput. But this is giving me second thoughts about everything, because if I do that for the top hatch, if it's going to be visible, here's the top hatch. If it's going to be visible when it's open, and it's so flush that it would be unable to close if I put plot plate there. I might just have to bite the bullet and paint the part and mask it. It might just be how it goes, unfortunately. I don't think there's any way around it. Oh, wait. Shit. Am I so stupid again? Wow. Is this also multiple parts? Like 40 minutes of this stream is me trying to solve problems that didn't exist? Wow. See, that's the issue with painting a kit. Like months and months after you build it, and you totally forget how the construction is. It's 2 parts, so I can do it like that. My God, you guys, I'm an idiot. And then you literally just pop the top and it just slots in. Like that. Right? I don't know why it seems to be falling out. Did I put it in backwards? No, I did not. Oh, I think, do these stop it? No, I don't think those stop it from sliding at all. I don't know, but either way, it's multiple parts and it definitely can be popped back on. It's just, it keeps falling down for me. I think I could probably just get like a Q-tip in there to hold it in place. Yeah, there you go. And then it sits nice and flush. So that was not a real problem. And now I've got this piece all messed up that needs to be resculpted. Well, you live and you learn, and this part is also a separate piece. So all this can be done together. So actually, even more than I realized, they really did a great job making this kit super painting friendly. Hey Solido, watching the stream while playing Cyberpunk 2077. I'm sure this is going to end up great. Thank you. Gunpla Freedom says, very cool. Jesse says, can you make a counter C that snaps on over the seat you carved to hide it? No, I don't think there's space for that. I don't think there's space for that, but I think I've got it all solved. So now I'm just going to double check everything still fits. This is what happens, and I start to make a mess and I forget where everything is. Just going to take another tiny little piece of blue tack. Just stick it in there. And I'm going to put this piece goes like that. This piece goes like that. And then let's try snapping it all together and seeing if it stays together. It seems to. Now, can we still get the pilot out? I don't know about getting the pilot out, but getting the pilot in, yeah, you can get the pilot out. Kind of knocks some of this other stuff out. But this is all good and fits relatively flush and tight. So I'm going to paint it like this. All that stuff together like that, and then just pop the pilot in. Okay, so basically now I have to re-sculpt this. I mean, I don't have to. I can just leave it shut. Like it wouldn't matter. Which I might do, honestly. But I think it's not going to be a crazy amount of work to just fix that little bit with a little bit of putty, since I have to putty everything anyway. So I think we solved all the engineering problems on the whole kit, which is great. So now it just comes down to putty and then priming and then painting and then weathering. So let's get to puttying. I'm gonna do the first application of putty, and then what I'm gonna do is just let it dry, and yeah, I'll probably end the stream after the puttying. Seems like it's kind of slowed down anyways, because this has gone on for quite a while, and I'm sure it's not the most riveting high action stream, but I appreciate you guys all for hanging out. It's a good excuse to get me to actually work on this project. So we're gonna have to paint the pilot separate, but we don't really have to worry about that because he can pop right in. And so I'm just gonna take a little bit. I probably should use Milliput. So the thing is, the Milliput dries harder than the Tamiya, but it's a bit more work. The Tamiya, I'm not so sure how well it's going to hold an edge. So I think I'm going to want to use probably the Milliput. Because the Milliput dries super hard and is very, very sandable. Sandable into shapes, I should say. So it's a 2-part epoxy putty. I'm mixing together a super small amount here. When are you going to make the PSO Big O2 custom kit? Momo, that's a great idea. Actually, hey Reggie. That's such a great idea. I have for a long time wanted to do a PSO diorama. Hold on, I mix that together. Let me grab something quick. That, it seemed like my audio interface just died. Don't know why that happened. I think there is something wrong with my audio interface. I'm not sure what's wrong with it, but it keeps like losing power and I keep dropping out, so I apologize for the audio. But I have this Phantasy Star Online model kit. I have 2 of them, and for a while I had been thinking of doing a diorama and doing like a diorama of like the forest level or something. But these are pretty cool looking Phantasy Star Online model kits. They have the mag and everything, and they come with a few different weapons. They're definitely very difficult to paint, just because of all the detail that's required on the mags. But I think if it was done well and I gave it the time it needed, I think it would look really, really cool. Really, really cool. So I have a couple. They made a bunch of them, and they come with like all different weapons and stuff. But I only have 2 of them. Yeah, I love the Phantasy Star games. I gotta put this back. I forgot to put the instructions. Or not the instructions, just this little piece of paper. Anyway, that's a side tangent, but when you mentioned like a custom the O model, I thought of that. So anyway, I've got my Milliput here, and I am gonna take it and just put it right over that gap there. And I need to make sure I just go over from the top. And keep it really thin. because I'm just trying to fix that little area. And not trying to clog up the hole here. So I'm just gonna put that in there. Make sure the hole, well, you can do it while it's soft. It's actually not that piece though, it's this piece. Just push it in and make sure you mold the hole while it's nice and soft. And that should be pretty good once that dries. You know, I'll just sand that down a little bit. And it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to look better than that gash that was left there before. And I'll just go ahead and do it on the other side. So this is not too bad, but it is annoying because if I would have just realized that, you know, hey, this part actually comes off, then I wouldn't have had to make that gash in the first place. But you live and you learn. And the thing with model kits is there's basically nothing that can't be fixed. Everything can be fixed. There you go. And that'll go like that. Very nice. And I think that that should sand down pretty nice and finish out pretty nice once that is all said and done and dried. So that is good. Crisis averted. So I think that is pretty much the only thing I'm going to use Milliput for, and I think for the rest I'm going to use my classic trusty Tamiya. So for the Tamiya, I'm going to get some Q-tips, which I'll use to apply them. Sometimes I'll also use toothpicks. Starting to make a mess, so let's tidy up a bit and put this Milliput away because I don't think I'm gonna use the rest of that right now anyway. Jesse, I'm curious what your favorite is between Phantasy Star Universe, the original PSO, and PSO2. I actually think for some of these, before I even get to the putty, I'm going to go and do classic for a few of these. First, I'm going to open my window to get some fresh air. And then I'm going to go with the Tamiya Extra Thin Cement. And I'm going to glue these together just to give it more structural integrity. Because the thing about just using the putty is if it's a part that gets stressed, it definitely can crack. And we don't want that, especially for these parts where you're doing the C-clips and things like that. You don't want anything cracking. You definitely want a nice, strong connection that's going to last and get you a nice, clean paint job. It's looking pretty good. So I'm going to make a new pile now, which will be the glued pile. Hi 14, or hi Johnny. Well, Johnny, you're going to call it a night. Have a good one. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for hanging out with us. 14biz42 says, hi Pixelly. Sorry, I was so busy here with work that I lost your stream. I will watch it later. No worries at all. It's just a very chill, laid back stream. Working on this model kit, getting it ready for the upcoming weathering tutorial video that I am working on. And you guys are seeing the full process. And it's definitely slow. So no worries at all if you guys have to hop. We've been at it for a while. But I'm happy to finally be able to do a longer stream. And just have an excuse to just really sit here and work on this kit and focus on it. Hang out with you guys. It's a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun. Nice, so that is glued together. What else I don't know if much else needs to be glued together besides that piece. I'm trying to think. I think most of them are pretty like sturdy. It's really just that piece that felt more fragile and needed glue. Yeah, I think it's just that. I think everything else will be putty though. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with the Tamiya putty. So the thing is, Tamiya putty, the putty at the top of the tube is usually old. So usually I will push it out, get rid of it, and get some fresh putty that's beneath it. And I'm just gonna go in there and pretty generously, I mean, I don't know if I would say it's generous. I'm really actually trying to use as little product as I can get away with. This putty is not liquidy enough. I gotta get some of the more liquidy stuff from deeper in the tube. This tube might be a little too old. Let's see. Let's see if I can get some more. If it dries out too much, it just can become hard to work with. So I'm going in and I'm basically just painting over all the seam lines with a Q-tip. And it's by no means perfect. And there are other tools you can use for this. You can use a spatula. Occasionally I will use one of these metal paint stirrers if I need to do some like really super fine. I might even do that now a little bit. Just get some the extra off. And then I got my basic putty there. Then I'll do the bottom. I might even get like cut like a scrap piece of plot plate just to put the putty on. Again, you're never going to get every single seam line, and some of them will sand pretty flush as well. This is just about getting the bulk of them and the big ones. But I think that looks pretty good. I definitely need to order some new putty though. This is definitely the end of life. I think I might have, let's see if I have another tube. Jesse says, PSU because all my friends played it as well and I have so many memories of all-nighters with them grinding our characters. You know, sadly, I did not get to play as much Phantasy Star Universe as I wish I did. And I'm weirdly nostalgic for the game, but I only think I got my character up, like, on the official servers, maybe to, like, level 60 or something like that. Like, I didn't play super, super long, and I kind of fell off. But I really wanted to try the Clementine server and go back and experience the things that I never got to experience on the official servers. So what I'm trying to do as much as possible is avoid getting too much putty in any of the seam lines. So this one I'm just kind of pulling it away with my hobby knife where it got into a little bit of a seam line there. And again, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect for my application here. I'm just really trying to minimize some of these seam lines as best as I can. Especially the big ones. But some of this will definitely be probably hidden with just sanding and primer. Jesse says, I tried Clementine in its early days, but it was missing a lot of features at that time, and I haven't revisited it. I need to check it out again. Yeah, I've heard it's gotten pretty good. I've heard pretty good things about Clementine. For those of you who don't know, Clementine is like a fan-run private server to bring Phantasy Star Universe back online. I think that's looking pretty decent. This puttying is going to be tedious just because of all the nooks and crannies around these parts. It's probably my least favorite part of building. But once I'm done with this stage, I'll be in a really good place with the build process. So I'm kind of just painting the putty on there over the major seam lines. This one here could probably be filed down. And again, if you're doing this in a closed off area, I would definitely wear a respirator. I have two big windows right in front of me that are open. Actually, only one is open. I'm gonna open the second one. So I've got a good amount of airflow. I think that should be pretty good. Fixing up the front of the leg. Now the back of the leg, a lot of this will be hidden. Now you guys are gonna hear dogs and stuff because I got the windows open. Dogs and cars and stuff. The sounds of nature. But that's good, that's puttied up. Get a little fresh bit of putty here. And again, just painting it on to close up those seams. I am wondering if I'm making a mistake by not gluing all of this together. Just because this putty can crack if you put too much pressure on it, but I do think where these parts are located, I don't think there's going to be any pressure that pries them apart. So I think I should be pretty safe. but I guess we'll see. We shall see. I forgot to do this little piece. I forgot this had a seam line on the other side. It's like a little tiny hole that you can put, I guess, like a tow cable or something like that. For a future stream like this, maybe I will consider getting some background music or something to play. It's kind of low key. And if I'm not talking, not much is going on. So I don't know, it might be nice to have some music. So that is good. Let's do the back. Just painting the putty on there, trying to not get it in the details if I can avoid it. This putty is really dried out right after this video. I'm definitely going to order myself some fresh Tamiya putty, but this should still work. It's like just at the tail end of being usable. And so whenever I get putty in those seam lines, I'm just taking a hobby knife and kind of just scraping it away. Cool, so that's good, and then I'm gonna come back, get some fresh putty, fresh Q-tips as well. The Q-tips start to go bad pretty quick. And I'm gonna clean up that little eye hole for the tow cable. Clean that up really nice. And I think that should be pretty good. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that little tiny gap. There's like a little tiny gap. Yeah, I might try to fill it like that. Whoops. Whoops. Does it have the same problem on the other one too? Yeah, I might try to just get putty in there and hopefully be able to clean it up. What I'm going to do is get a toothpick and put that through the hole. What's nice about the Tamiya putty is it's very, very soft and super easy to sand, so it pretty much like flakes off of detail parts really easily. Like you can recarve stuff out pretty easily if you start to lose detail. Ivan Ramos says, any helpful tips? I'm painting with acrylics and using Mr. Weathering as a panel liner. What can I use to clean up the panel lines without removing the acrylic? I use, where the heck is it? Mr. Weathering solvent. This is what I always use. I use it over acrylic, and as long as you have a gloss coat on top of your paint, you're not going to have any issues. I just dip a Q-tip in this and I clean up my panel lines I use Mr. Weathering as my main panel liner. And I've never had an issue with, the only time you'll have an issue is if you really sit there and you use like a crazy amount of solvent and you're rubbing like really hard. You definitely want to be gentle. It does not take a lot of effort with the weathering solvent to clean up the panel lines. But just make sure you have a nice high gloss coat on top of your paint. Like a nice good coverage high gloss coat, and then it should come right off. And then after that, if you want a matte coat to clean up the job, you just go ahead and matte coat. Have you tried making your own panel liner color? No, because I typically like to just use black. Black or like a dark brown. So I haven't really found a need to use a different color yet. But potentially, if I did find a need, I would definitely mix my own color. These dogs in the neighborhood are going crazy. I don't know if you guys can hear them on the microphone, but I can hear them. Alright, so a little more putty. We've just got a few pieces left to putty, and then we're going to be done with the first round of putty. After that, I will sand it and then prime it, and then see if there's any parts that need to be touched up with a second round of putty. And again, this is my least favorite part of working on vintage kits. The puttying part. Like, it is what it is. It's not that terrible. It's just very tedious. I think that's good. And then we got the other foot here. And then we'll be done with the feet, which is nice. Should I have done that? Get in there. But yeah, this part is just time consuming and tedious, and I'm sure there are better ways to do it. But this is just the way I've been doing it. And I know some people say they use CA glue, they have different methods, different things they use, but I've always found I like the result the best when I just go in with the classic putty, multiple rounds, and sand it. I seem to get a good result. What kit was this one? This is the, oops. This is the Raiden Armor from Gasaraki. Bandai model kits from 1998. JP is me says, hey Pixelly, how goes it? It is going well. We are wrapping up the last few pieces, so it's just everything is prepped pretty much and ready to go, except for this pile of pieces here. So we're just getting through that, and then we're gonna let it dry, and then it's gonna be ready to just sand down the putty and then start priming. So that's exciting. So I'm just sanding down some little nubs that I caught. This one's kind of tricky. There was a real nasty nub sticking up out there, and it left some plastic dust. So what I'm going to do is take my knife, go in and just clean that out. That should be pretty good. Bird Soup says, does it have to be enamel paint to make panel liner, or can another type work? So Bird Soup, the weathering oil is an oil-based paint. Weathering color is an oil-based paint. So I use oil instead of enamel for my panel liners. If you're using enamel, you can use lighter fluid. Zippo lighter fluid works really well. But for oils, I just use the Mr. Weathering solvent. Alright. So gonna get a fresh little scrap piece of plastic again. Just gonna cut off a little scrap piece of plastic. Squeeze out some fresh putty. Let's cap that off. This is a nice, easy one to putty up. Just a nice, straight, simple barrel of a rifle. Nothing too complicated. I like that. No detail. I like that. Because we can add detail later if we want to add it, which I may. I very well may add some little scribe lines or details or things like that just for fun, but I may not. I'm unsure at this stage, but I like when you have a nice blank, easy to work with canvas like that. And it looks pretty good. Another big piece here. And I'm getting very excited as we're getting through the last few pieces. We'll go around this thruster here, this big seam line running through it. Get a nice generous amount of putty on there. Now for these parts where it runs through and there are panel lines running through, a lot of times I just accept that you're gonna eat into part of those panel lines and you're just gonna have to rescribe them. It can be a pain, but it's just really difficult to completely avoid that. What I can do, I'll show you in a minute. It's, I mean, similar to what I've been doing so far. Like once you get that gap filled, right? Gaps all filled. Again, you just take your hobby knife. You could also take a scriber, But since I'm not scribing, I'm really just cleaning out the panel line. You just go through and you just make sure that there's no putty that got stuck in those lines. And that's going to make your life just a little bit easier when you get to the next stage, because once the putty is dry, what you can actually do is once you've sanded it, you can take a toothbrush and get it out of all the grooves. But if it's fully dried in there, it's just difficult. So it's just good to take a hobby knife and make sure there's not too much gunk up in there. The bottom side I'm not really worried about because it's going to be hidden. But I will get the bottom of this barrel. Whoops, whoops. So I think this goes like that. And then this snaps down onto the arm, and I think it actually sits like this, which means I'm going to want to make sure I get that and do a nice clean job there. Because that's going to be upward facing. Okay. And I think this will be hidden, right? I think it goes like that on the arm. So I think that'll be good. I don't think I need to worry about those. But I'm like, should I do it? I probably should. It's going to be a pain, but I probably should. I'm just going to do it. At least that one. I don't want to get too putty happy because sometimes the putty gets really hard to remove and then you start to go insane. Like you're like, why did I do all this extra putty that is not going to show? Once you get to the painting stage on this kit, are you going to try to match the paint colors from the manual, or will you do your own colors? I think I'm going to try for this one. I almost never match the colors, but I think I'm going to do the colors. But maybe, I don't know, maybe do something cool like a red shoulder or something interesting, just like an interesting little pop. Or something like that. It's going to be very much this color, but like maybe something special, and I'm going to do like a little bit heavier pre-shading. Just a few pieces left. Very exciting. Very, very exciting indeed. Gosh, this putty is all dried up. again with the hobby knife method, just clearing out that groove to make sure not too much stuff gets gunked up in there. I think a lot of this probably won't show, but just to be on the safe side. Why not? Okay, that's good. One of the thighs is done. Now we're just going to go ahead and do the other thigh. What putty am I using? I am using Tamiya putty, basic type. Sorry, I didn't see your message before. Yep, just the standard Tamiya putty, basic type. I got a little bit in a place where I didn't want it. So what I'm actually going to do is just take a little isopropyl alcohol. Just dip a Q-tip in there. And gently just paint it away. That might not work. What I can also do is take a cute toothpick and just kind of rub it back and forth in those grooves before it dries, and that took it out. Oh. Putty, 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 putty. I'm nearing the end where I'm starting to get it all over my hands. Which is kind of annoying, but we're almost done. Just a few more pieces left, which is good because I'm starting to run out of energy. Let's see. Thankfully, this putty that is near the end of the tube is actually a bit more liquid and easier to work with. That's going to have a wrist guard around it, so I don't have to worry about that. It's just here. That little flat area, maybe that. This piece. There you go. This little piece here needs putty. You know, I am starting to cut corners now, and usually I say don't cut corners. But I think it should mostly be okay. Once everything is sanded, I'll start to do some like test fitting and see how everything sits together again, just to double check that nothing has been missed that's going to show. And that was a big blunder. Just got putty all up in this spot that I did not want putty. But we should be able to just wipe it away while it's still not cured. Perfect. All right. The last few pieces, you guys, I'm hyped. And really, all in all, like, I think the fact that I've been able to do this pretty much in one stream shows that, yes, while it does take a lot of time, it's like not so crazy. It's not like 100 hours or anything. And like I said, these kits build so much faster, so it's less time building, more time puttying. It's a trade-off, but it's definitely a faster build than like a modern high grade would be, or like an RE100 or something like that. So it's a trade-off. That's good. Just need a little bit more putty. And then I'm debating on some of those other pieces. I don't know, I might save them for later rather than rush it now while I'm not kind of like tired, and I don't want to rush those, specifically the round ones. I'll show you guys in a second. They're a bit more complicated. should be good. I don't know how the arm wound up in the other pile there. That pile I cannot putty just yet because I want to paint the inside black before I seal it up. It's just going to make my life a lot easier. Or like a very, very dark gray. I think I'm just gonna do these shoulders maybe. Let's get a toothpick in there and clean that up. And then I think I might save the rest of those parts for a future session. What I was talking about earlier though was these parts. They have these round details and lots of, I mean not like such a crazy amount, but like a good amount of detail that goes through, that the seam line goes through, as well as these. And so I really want to take my time and do those. These are straightforward. But I'm tired, so I'm gonna just wrap up this last piece so I don't rush anything, because I can feel myself starting to rush. When you feel yourself starting to rush, it's a good time to take a break. Nice, and I think that's it. So the bulk of it is puttied up. It's just these couple pieces here and these couple pieces here that require special treatment, and then painting the inside of those. That stuff is all ready to paint. What I usually do now, just to keep everything safe, and I don't have one on me, I'll have to go grab one, but usually I'll start to like Ziploc things up and start labeling the Ziplocs. So I think I'm probably going to do that. I'm probably going to like clean up the area, start Ziplocking, and all that fun stuff, just to make sure that nothing gets lost. I will crawl around and scour for that lost piece that went flying earlier. hopefully I can find it. If not, I can harvest a piece from the other kit. So anyway, guys, thank you for hanging out during the stream. I know this was like a really long one, but I got a lot of work done, and I'll have a nice document of all the work and footage I can pull from when I make my final weathering video, so that'll be really helpful. And yeah, hope you guys have a good night, and I'll see you guys in the next video or the next stream. All right.